Durwood Zaelke is the founder and the president of the Institute for Governance and Sustainable Development, and he joins us now from Paris. Durwood, good to see you. Good to have you on the program. Now, scientists warn that emerging islands aren't sort of a chance. They're not flukes, but rather the direct result of the growing climate crisis. And as part of this, we always hear that polar regions are heating up twice as fast as the global average. My question to you is, why is this phenomenon so much more pronounced at the extremities of our planet?
One of the reasons is because right now we have the great white shield of the Arctic sea ice, which traditionally sends tremendous amount of incoming solar radiation safely back to space. But as the world warms, we lose that reflective power, and we end up with incoming solar radiation going right into the oceans. So that causes even more warming in the Arctic, hence the doubling of the global average. Now we're already down to 1% of the strong multi-year sea ice in the Arctic. And when we lose all of the first-year ice that's left, which is fragile honeycombed ice, much more vulnerable to the cyclonic winds that we expect from climate change, we're going to add the equivalent of 1 trillion tons of CO2 to Arctic warming, and actually that's going to be global average. And we're going to advance the 2-degree target that we're trying to keep from going beyond that for future warming by 25 years from the future to the present. So this is a very devastating development in the Arctic.
Very gloomy picture that you paint, but Durwood, let me ask you something, because this is something that you're very familiar with. The Montreal Protocol, which was signed in the late, or 87, in the 1980s, basically limited the usage of CFCs, which is a great example of how the scientific community could actually come up with something so alarming and influence global leaders to actually make a change. Why do you think that we're not able to sort of replicate the same strategy with this current crisis?
Well, it's a great example. The Montreal Protocol, the best treaty we've ever created, solved the first great threat to this global atmosphere, which was to the stratospheric ozone layer, and incidentally has done more for climate protection than any other treaty, because the CFCs that you mentioned were also very strong climate warmers. So first thing is, I would repose your question, what else can we do to strengthen the Montreal Protocol to do even more for climate? Well, we passed the Kigali Amendment recently to phase out HFCs, which are the latest refrigerants. And President Macron has made this a signature issue for his climate campaign to get the world to ratify this amendment quickly and to get rid of these powerful super pollutants, which can avoid up to 0.5 degrees Celsius of future warming. So it's very important to do everything we can under the Montreal Protocol. Second, your idea of using Montreal as an example of sectoral agreements. How do you take a piece of the climate problem, develop an international agreement that learns how to solve that piece, gets better at it, and then strengthens its protections to do more and more? Now, we're trying to do this with forest, we're trying to do this with aviation, we're trying to do this with international maritime. It's a very good example that a sectoral approach can complement the Paris Agreement, which is the overarching global agreement, of course.
Durwood, I mean, I don't have a lot of time now, but a lot of your work focuses on sort of fast action mitigation strategies for protecting our Earth's climate. In your mind, what are some of the simplest steps that we as human beings can take to aid this climate crisis?
Well, the first thing to do is elect good leaders, starting with the United States. But throughout the world, let's get the best leaders there. And one of the reasons I'm here in Paris is that President Macron said, if you want to escape the U.S., given the current politics there, and do climate protection, come to Paris. And then you have to have President Xi, you have to have Prime Minister Modi. You need a group of leaders who are going to truly recognize the climate emergency. So number one, elect the right people. Number two, get your own house in order. So when you buy an air conditioner, make sure you're getting one that doesn't use the super pollutant HFCs, that uses a climate-friendly refrigerant, and that's super efficient. So it's really important in a warming world where we need more air conditioning that we make it super efficient. It's one of the most important strategies going forward.
Okay. Durwood Zaelke, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. Appreciate it.